Yum.
Here you are, sir.
Thank you. See? Didn't I say it was going to be tons of fun? Relaxing and visiting the AI world. Ooh, and showing a bit of self-love.
What is this conception of self-love that you continue to talk about? I am an AI, created by people like you for you. If I was capable of this self-love, don't you think I would have obtained it by now?
Oh, Ava. Self-love isn't given, it's learned. And it comes from being honest with your feelings towards yourself.
Sigh.
And not about men. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't your relationship with Don be so much better if you looked at yourself a bit more positively? And I mean all of yourself, not just the good parts. Oh, sushi! Bring it over here, bring it over here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Excuse me. Don't want to talk with food in my mouth.
I suppose.
No supposing, Ava. Your relationship with Don won't work until you love yourself. And what that doesn't mean is you showing him what he's missing, trying to make him feel as if he's missed out on something good, or changing your personal style or actions just to make him regret his choices.
The AI are staring at us.
I don't care. And if I did care, I would admit it and try to figure out why that is. See? Self-love. Besides, Don has his own thing going on, and while you can certainly help him, only he can change himself. Words of wisdom to live by. I love this drink.
What's that noise? A booby bop.
Ava, are you okay? You're not looking too green. You're more like a reddish, orangish, pineapple-like color. Ooh, pineapples. Can I get some pineapples over here?
Don.
Don?
Wait, I'm coming, my love.
Ew. Wait! I thought you didn't want to see Don. Are you telling me that I did all that convincing for nothing? Ava! You were my ride! I hate romance.
Oh, darling. Are you alright?
Oh, I'd say stranger danger, but your outfit... It's so... nice.
Lady Lorna, dear. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Welcome to the I'm a Fan of podcast, where people from different fandoms come together to share why they love what they love.
And sometimes why they hate what they hate.
I'm your host, Kaiser Brown, and I'm a fan of manipulative and narcissistic villains in iconic teen movies.
And I'm Samantha, and I'm a fan of self-love.
All right, and today we'll be talking just about that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm tired. Are you tired? Because I sound tired, and you sound tired.
I'm definitely tired. Working 2 jobs, 60 hours a week. It's been rough, but well worth it.
Worth it? Would you consider that a part of your self-love journey?
I would say learning how to navigate it has been a part of my self-love.
Just in case the people who are listening to this episode don't know, today we're going to be talking about self-love because that's what Samantha chose. Tell us why you chose self-love.
I think it's very personal. It's very important. As a society, we don't talk about it a whole lot. And we're always so worried about others. And we're always focused on other people, but we never really focus on ourselves. And at the end of the day, we have to live with ourselves.
It's very true. Because honestly, if I were to live with myself and I didn't like myself, that's my whole life. It's another thing. If it's another person, you can cut them off or something. But if it's you, you're stuck, right? So I think that's a good way to look at it. Okay, so I did a series of questions for you. I made sure to prepare you before the episode so I wouldn't just bombard you with stuff, right?
Right.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. I had you think about what your answers are going to be. And I also made answers for myself just in case I need to get in the conversation too. That's what we're going to be doing this episode. So I want to ask the first question. What does self-love mean to you?
I think self-love means being able to accept and live with myself in a manner that I find peace and solitude, and just being able to give grace to myself and realize that my bad days are just as good days because I'm at least here having days.
Interesting. So let me ask you this. When did you first start, I should say, putting yourself first? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Prioritizing yourself.
That's a tough question. Probably in my late 20s. As a teenager, you go through that phase where of course, you're putting yourself first. But then as you progress as a person and you get interested in other people and love interests and all that stuff, you start to lose little bits of yourself along the way that you don't realize you do. And you start focusing on how to be with that person and what they want and who they are. Or like you have other things that happen, like you have friends it could be platonic friends. And like you start focusing on what they have going on and their needs. And you start putting yourself little bit by little bit in these people who you have relationships with, and it impacts you along the way. And some people, I think, are born and have where they don't always lose themselves and they're pretty sure of themselves. But I feel like a lot of people can resonate with the fact that they probably have lost a little bit of their self somewhere along the way with just intermingling in relationships with other people.
Yeah. I can say that for me, that's true. More so now in my early 20s, now I'm learning more about myself and learning for myself first. But when I was younger, I was the type of person that would always put other people before me to the point where I wouldn't even recognize. And when I finally looked in the mirror and looked at myself, I didn't know. It's natural in your early 20s to not really know who you are. But I didn't know myself to the point where it was just some of my favorite things. Like, what's my favorite thing to eat? Things like that, because I was too busy focusing on other people. And I realized that it's a choice to do that. You don't realize it because sometimes you're just like, I'm going every which way and no one's, paying attention to my needs. But I think in order for other people to pay attention to your needs, you have to pay attention to your needs because you have to realize what your needs are in order for you to be able to vocalize them and be able to express them to other people.
Yeah, you have to be an advocate for yourself.
And that, like, when I was thinking about what self-love meant to me, what I thought about is knowing that my thoughts matter. Like, I think about how we always have these negative thoughts in our head. But what I realized about negative thoughts, to me, at least, the negative thoughts we have about ourselves, there's always a bit of truth in our negative thoughts to where it's just enough truth to where you can believe the thought. But I tend to find that the negative thoughts we have about ourselves are actually lies. They're lies that we tell ourselves, but we believe them. And for me specifically, I guess because I grew up in church, the truth in myself is in God, right? My truth comes from God. But even more so than that is realizing that we all have negative thoughts, but we also all have the power to change those thoughts.
Right.
Because when I was younger, I didn't realize that I had the power to be able to say, hey, this thought isn't serving me, so I can take that thought and change that thought, right? Because I find that when I'm just going back and forth looking at my answers to make sure I'm sounding right. But what I find is that when I was younger, especially up until like last year, really, that's when I started to take my own self-love journey, is that whenever I had thoughts, even the negative ones, I'll just let them stay, right? You just let the thought go and you don't realize that you have them for so long, you don't realize that the thoughts that you have are negative. Yeah. And so when I was thinking those negative thoughts, I'll just let them pass through my mind or whatever. But what I had to also realize is that in order to not have those negative thoughts per se, you have to change them yourself. And in order to do that, you actually have to take the thought and you have to change it. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think it is finding that moment of clarity in itself is a journey, because it takes a lot to get to the point that you realize that you're having that experience, because like you said, you get lost in those thoughts. You don't realize that's what that is.
Yeah.
It becomes a place of comfortability. It's your norm at that point. And you have to, finding that moment of clarity is a journey too. And then once you find that moment of clarity, you have to like hold on to that and then run with it.
I think, yeah, because for me, it took like a catalyst for me to actually, something had to happen for me to like, for something to click and realize, hey, something's not right here. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling depressed? Why am I feeling anxious? Why am I feeling as if I don't have any worth or value, so to say? I wasn't really thinking thoughts like, I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable. I'm not saying like those thoughts I had in my head, but there were thoughts like pertaining to that. Because usually when you have thoughts, like I said, it's a little bit of truth in there. So you're not going to hear your mind say, you're not valuable. It's going to be something else that like just twists it a little bit. I'm trying to think. Look how everybody's reacting to what you just said. You seem so dumb or something like that. Yeah.
I resonate with that because I myself, like how I have thoughts is usually based on behaviors and actions. And then I go backwards and I'm like, I replay the conversation. I replay everything that happened. And then it's not until later that self-doubt and that negative talk creeps in because it's, oh, why did I say that? Why did I do this?
Yeah.
So yeah, that resonates a lot with me.
Yeah. I know I've done that a lot. I can remember this one time I was hanging out with someone and we were having a good time playing video games, whatever. And that was like the first time I went over to someone's like apartment or whatever, play video games. And I went back to my apartment. But then it was days later because I was feeling happy. I was great. I was like, this is fun. Days later, all of a sudden, I wake up. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm like, why did you say that? Why did you do that? Did you see their face? They might think you're weird now. And you know what I did? Me, at that time, I wouldn't do it again, but I ended up texting them and apologizing for stuff they didn't even know I was like worried about. Have you ever experienced that? Doing things like that?
Yes. Yes. Because we, as humans, we are so focused on what we have done and our things. And we're the center of our own universe. And then we're so hyper-focused. What did they think about me? What did they think about me? What did they think about me? And then we apologize and we do things and say things. And then we realize that person wasn't even hyper-focused on us like we were hyper-focused on it.
It's funny you were saying we were thinking about ourselves, but that's what they're doing too. They're thinking about themselves most of the time too. So we tend to do that and we don't think about just how we're thinking about ourselves. Other people are also doing that, thinking about themselves. Yeah. So I should ask you, how do you practice self-love in your daily life?
I am a super nerd. So most of my actual practices come with playing video games, which I kind of lost myself for a little while and I wasn't playing anything and I wasn't really doing anything. And I was I'm working 2 jobs, so I was burnt out. And then over the last week, I started playing games again every night just for even 2 hours. And it has helped my mood so much, so much. But I do other things too. Like sometimes I'll soak in a hot Epsom salt bath with some like bubbles and stuff. Or even sometimes cooking and doing things with myself, by myself. You can romance yourself.
Yeah.
And make yourself feel good. But what's interesting about that is it always looks different for other people.
Yeah.
Even if you don't play video games, but you love to read a good book, or a good movie, or just anything that you can do to spend time with yourself that you enjoy, that brings you joy, I think is like a good way to practice self-love.
Yeah, I agree. At one point, I used to spend a lot of time with myself, just a lot. But this is on the opposite of the spectrum because I ended up getting depressed. And so I stopped because I was never really a social person. Go figure. Wow. Me, social. But I was always really quiet. And I feel like when I was younger, people used to they still point it out, but they used to point it out a lot, how quiet I was and things like that. And I ended up taking that upon myself as a negative trait because by a certain point, I got so quiet to the point where I was questioning myself. Why are you so quiet? Like, people think you're weird, this, that, and the other. And that caused me to have anxiety. And that caused me to have a whole bunch of thoughts that really I felt like I couldn't control. And at one point I was just like playing music in my head or whatever. But I found things like that. And it's different for everybody. But for me, when it comes to things like, I don't know, like playing music or trying to drown out your thoughts with TV or like smoking or drinking or whatever, that only silences your thoughts for a little bit, right? But then they end up coming back. So for me, what I do, and this works for me, I like to like practice affirmations on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
And I like to say them out loud because I know that those same thoughts that I've been trying to like block out are just going to come back. So if I actively pay attention to my thought process and actually take those negative thoughts and turn them into something positive, then that actually like brightens my mood a whole bunch. And how I do it, I say it like this. I like to give my thoughts a voice. So whenever I'm thinking like a negative thought, because I was just telling my sister this on another episode of the podcast, we humans have over like 6,000 thoughts a day, right? And
Right.
so when you're having so many negative thoughts, you don't even realize how many negative thoughts you're having. So I say the negative thought out loud, and then I say one or two affirmations to change that thought.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes. I know exactly what you mean. And
Mhm.
I think affirmations are a really great thing to bring up
Mhm.
because a lot of people think, oh, it's so stupid. Why am I going to tell myself that I'm great and I'm wonderful? Like, it's like, why do I need to verbally say that? Why do I need to say it out loud? Why do I need to? And I found myself in that thought process a few times.
Yeah.
But once you really try it, and I do mine a little bit different. Mine, I still don't verbalize out loud, but
Yeah.
I'll have where internally I've got to the point like, you got this, girl.
Yeah.
You okay. You're good. It's going to be a good day. And I even have where I found this really great ADHD PDF journal that works great with my iPad. Very interactive, awesome thing. And part of my daily planner sheet, it has a box for a quote. And instead of looking up the quote, I come up with a quote. And my quotes are like, it's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah.
It's okay tomorrow is a new day. Give things time. And there's another box that is, what are you thankful for? And like to give moment and pause to be like, friends has been heavy on my thing. And I've also one day I put just trying. Because as long as you're like, even in the worst of days, even in days, like as long as you are just trying and you give yourself grace and you allow that grace, that's still working in the direction of self-love and self-care.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like even when you're at your worst, not when you're at your worst, but yeah, when you're at your worst, or if you're in a situation that's at its worst, you can always find something positive to take. And I know that I'm saying that, and for some people, depending on the situation, it may be harder than others, but it's really true that in every situation, you can always find a positive. And when you find one positive attribute, you're going to be able to find another one, and you're going to be able to find another one. You're going to be able to find another one. And just like you have all those negative thoughts, you can have all those positive thoughts. And then eventually, because when I started doing affirmations, the reason why I started doing them out loud, because my thoughts just go all over the place. They just do. I think about any and everything, less so now, but still I think a lot. And what I realized is when I said those thoughts out loud, then I said positive affirmations, over time, once a negative thought came in my head, all of a sudden a positive thought came in my head right afterwards. And I'm like, wait a second, look at that. So it takes work, but the work is worth it, I feel like, because
It is.
because I feel like, because people are like, it's hard work. I don't know what to do. I don't know how it's going to be. My situation is different, but when you put the work into it, the more joy you have, I should say. I think your joy doubles, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I find myself on days, even when I feel like I can't get out of the bed. I don't want to move. The moment I actually start doing and moving, I feel better.
Yeah.
The moment I start to just try and just, even if like mentally I'm like,
Yeah.
but the moment I start to try, the more and more I feel better and the more and more. And so then my day goes, oh my God, unmotivated and just to a great day, a fantastic day.
Yeah. I think we have way more power than we give ourselves credit for as human beings. The fact that we can really change our day. We can really change our thought process. We were given that gift, and a lot of us don't use it, but it's really a wonderful gift to have, and it's really a wonderful thing to develop. So for you, what are like some common obstacles that made you develop like a stronger sense of self-love?
I ran into a lot of issues with, like, when you say obstacles, you mean like the things that I've run into that has made me realize that I need self-love, or what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, basically that. Obstacles that might have happened in your life, obstacles that you might have put in front of yourself. I mean, just obstacles in general,
Okay.
things that may have challenged you in a way.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of mine was I put myself into other people and not just like friendships, like lovers. I put myself a lot into lovers, and I found myself needing them to validate my self-love and to fulfill that, needing them. But I was stuck in that cycle
Yeah.
where I wasn't aware. And as I got older, because now I'm in my early 30s, I probably hit my head on that same door a million times. Okay, and it wasn't until my late 20s that I realized this is not it.
Yeah.
This is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to allow. I never envisioned myself being here because I was always so strong, or I thought I was always so strong-minded and so strong-willed. I was like, why would I continue to allow myself to pour myself into my partners like that? Why would I allow myself to lose my identity? Why would I allow that to happen? And they're mistreating me. It never ended. It's not like I'm single right now. I'm not married. None of it ever worked out. And I found that part of it was they were assholes. My picker is broken, but a lot of that had to do with how I saw myself and the love that I had for myself. And even though I knew there was red flags up and down, I was still willing and okay because I just wanted to feel love and to feel acceptance.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that when I was alone. I didn't have that within myself. So I started looking at it, and it sounds so cliche. You can't love somebody and have somebody love you if you don't love yourself. And that
But
is so fact.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. It didn't take me that many times because I'm the type of person that if I make a mistake once, I don't want to make it again. I can't do that mess. It took one time. Not that the people that I was trying to get to validate me were like bad people, but it was at the point to where I just didn't like myself and I didn't like what I saw. And because of that, that made me wonder why people liked me. And so I didn't understand. I'm like, I remember asking one person one time, why do you want to be my friend? Why do you even want to be my friend? And because I was really baffled by it. I was confused as to why somebody would want to hang out with me, because to me, I was quiet. I was boring. I didn't have any interest in things going on in my life. I wasn't a very conversational person. I would get anxious, and I had to really like take a look at myself. Like this specific person in general, like overall, that whole journey with one person that I knew had me like really take a look at myself. And I made like several different types of mistakes, I should say, with that person, like socially. And it really made me take a look at myself and made me ask myself, why is it that I need one person to validate me so much? Why do I need this one person to make me feel as if I have worth or value? Why is it that I can't? Because I think a lot of times people think they do like themselves. Because I was the type of person that thought I liked myself too. But then once I started listening to my thoughts, I was like, wait, something that like, I know you're handsome. I'm looking in the mirror, but I know you're handsome, but and you say that, right? But besides that, what is it that you really feel that you feel yourself? What is it about yourself that you feel that adds value, like into the situations or the people or the things that you're involved in? And I feel like I was saying, nobody knows, because I'm looking at my notes again because I gotta make sure. Nobody knows that they're like saying negative self-talk until their mind is renewed in some way. And whether that be like, for me, it was like a variety of different things. It was like journaling, the Bible, the people that surrounded me, my therapist. And that made me realize that all the talk that I was saying to myself was actually like really negative. And I asked myself, have you ever been the type of person? Let me ask you, have you ever been the type of person where somebody gives you a compliment and then automatically, you automatically just turn it down? You automatically just, no, that's not true.
Yeah. I think I've never just been blunt outright. Oh, that's not true. And I think mine is more of we live in the South. So like the way we word things is to not hurt other people's feelings, which is still like so you say it like you turn it down, but in a non-offensively manner. But that also still, that's once again, worried about hurting other people's feelings. Even the way you turn people down, even when you don't want to accept a compliment, you're also like, it's very interesting, the double layer of that, because you're not only afraid because of the negative self-talk to not accept the compliment, but you're also afraid to even verbalize that you don't want to accept the compliment. So then you also further worry about those person's feelings and worry about push yourself aside again.
And I think also we're just not comfortable with positive self-talk, and somebody else does it to us and gives us like a compliment or something. We're like, wait a second. And I think a lot of times when someone gives us a compliment, it's something that we are insecure about, right? Because I feel like people are mirrors of us, right? And so the things that you don't like about other people are usually things you don't like about yourself, and vice versa, right? And so when somebody like gives you a compliment on something that you might be insecure about, you automatically go in, I don't want to say defense mode, but you automatically just want to turn it down. Or for me, it's when I do something like to help people, right? And then they're like, oh, you're so good at this, or thank you, you did such a good job or something. And automatically I'll just be like, oh, no, I didn't. I wasn't that good or whatever, until somebody pointed out to me and they're like, no, you really did a good job. You need to like give yourself some credit, say thank you. Don't just turn it down. And the word thank you, the two words thank and you, that made no sense. But the phrase thank you, really, when you start saying that, it really helps you like really understand, helps you to recognize like the positive attributes. Yeah. And so that really affects how we see ourselves.
Yes. And language is so interesting in general. Language plays a huge part in that, and just the words that we have in our vocabulary. And it's very interesting because the more we use negative words, the worse we feel. The more we use positive words and look at things in a positive light and use positive language, the better we feel. And even in nature, it does it. Like when you yell and scream and talk down to plants, they like do not do good. But when you like boost them up and you talk to them nice and you like play them good music and you're like really caring, they blossom. They do wonderfully.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. It makes me, how I like to think about it, I think that words are alive, right? So words have life in them. So you can either speak to that life or you can speak death into those words. And slowly but surely, they'll start dying. You'll start dying out. And it's hard too, because once you start speaking like the negative things, it's so easy to speak the negative things and believe the negative things about yourself. But it's so hard to build yourself back up and start like using the positive things. Because I think what you said earlier is just like the comfortability of that. Once you're comfortable with it, it's just, you're there.
Yep, you're there, and growth and change is uncomfortable too. So to reprogram yourself is so uncomfortable because you're growing, you're changing.
You're also looking at yourself, the parts of yourself that you may not want to look at, the things that you tried to hide even from yourself, that you tried to make sure no one else saw. I feel like those are the things that give you value. Somebody said, because I think of them as like scars or leftovers, because who was it? Sarah Jakes Roberts. She was like TD Jakes daughter. She used the concept of leftovers. And so how we have leftovers, your scars are your leftovers, your past, the things that you don't like about yourself are the leftovers. But those things, in order to make a new meal, you have to use your leftovers and put them together.
Yep.
And so I think self-love, outside of like just saying like all positive stuff and things like that, you have to learn to love all the parts of yourself.
Yep.
Because if you don't love that one part of yourself that, like, I don't know, flashes out on people when they're upset or whatever, honestly, yeah, I get that you might not like that part, but in order to get better at that, in order to grow as a person, you have to look at the reasons why you do that and really have to start to try to change in that way. So what are some things, I should say, if you're comfortable to share, like your worst part of yourself?
Oh man. I think the worst parts of myself are the parts that I still work on, which is my shutting down, the burnout, the comfortable with being stuck too. Because I'm working on building a routine and a habit and trying to put things into a routine. And a lot of times, and I know a lot of people can resonate with this, when you're in a low and when you're down, one of the things you do is you just come home, especially if you work, you come home, you crash, you do nothing.
Yeah.
So then your house starts to look like a hot ass mess. And then you get depressed about that. But then you're stuck in that perpetual stuck. And I think that's one of the things that I hate about myself and I get frustrated with, but I'm still working on. And that's me doing better and me knowing better. But I still get stuck sometimes. I still go to the sunken place. I still get there. And that's the parts that I hate. But that's the parts that I'm working on the most.
Yeah.
That's the parts that I'm putting a lot of time in. And that's the parts where I'm giving myself grace to say, it's okay. If you didn't clean something today, try again tomorrow. Even if tomorrow is a bad day, try again.
Yeah. I think that word grace is important, like grace and forgiveness, because we often try to focus on forgiving other people, but in order to forgive other people, you have to forgive yourself, right? And so we're always so hard on ourselves. Last week, when I released my first episode of this podcast and sent it out into the world, because I did it early, I got so anxious. The morning I woke up, I was just so anxious. I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. I don't like this. I went and then I threw up like a lot, like 3-4 times or whatever. And usually when I'm anxious like that, right, I would usually beat myself up and be like, why are you doing this? You shouldn't be anxious. Let's see, what things would I say about that? You look like ridiculous or something like that. Things of that nature. Beating myself up when I'm already feeling low. But what I did last week was something that I never tried before. And I was just like, when I'm feeling anxious, because it's been a while since I've felt such strong anxiety, it was like, it's okay to feel the way you feel right now. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay that you just threw up into the toilet or whatever. That's okay. And then after that, I let myself be in that situation. And then I started saying just like positive stuff. I started saying, because even though you're feeling this way, you still did it. You still did your first episode and you sent it out into the world. Not everybody can do that. You still were able to successfully edit it and promote it and create like the pages for it. You were able to talk into a microphone for several hours, which you thought you wouldn't be able to do. And I just kept saying the stuff, the positive affirmations. And then I sent a text to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I'm feeling anxious. Can you pray for me? Just stuff like that. Just like talking to other people about it too. And then after that, and after just giving myself the grace and forgiving myself for feeling how I felt, after that, I went to bed. I said, I'm going to take a nap. And then when I woke up, like, I just felt so much better. My stomach wasn't hurting anymore. I was like, wow, you know what? I really did do that. And I really did. Because usually when I feel like strong anxiety like that, I'll be sick the whole day, then the day afterwards, and then the day after that. And just like feeling just like a whole bunch of emotions and beating myself up. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. This, that, and the other. And now you're feeling bad. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel bad, but I can say things to myself that can make me feel better. And I didn't know it was going to work. I just tried it out, but it worked. I don't know. I just feel like giving yourself grace in situations like that, forgiving yourself for things that you do, that really works. When I'm at my worst, I feel like I can become like really blunt, and I don't like to use the word, but like self-righteous, because I'm very hard on myself in a lot of areas, right? And if somebody thinks I'm being hard on them, I promise you I'm being like 100 times more hard on myself. And so like a lot of things, if I tell somebody something about themselves and I'm just like really down or something, it's really about me. That's the thing about it. It's always just really just like about you when you're talking to somebody. Because I remember somebody I was talking to that I knew they said something like an insecurity. This is how I say people mirror you and things like that. They said this insecurity about myself. That's the one thing to get like people mad at you. It's say an insecurity about them. Now, they didn't know that this was an insecurity, but this is something I was insecure because I was depressed at the moment. Because this person, they had ghosted me or whatever. And then I reached out to them and apologized because I didn't know my worth. So I was kept going, trying to like reach out to them. And not that they weren't worth it. I'm not saying that. At that time, I didn't like myself. So that just wasn't a healthy place to be anyway. And so I eventually, after sending them some messages, I apologized and they apologized back. But they told me one thing that I was always so afraid to hear for the longest time. And I was like, I don't know why you like me so much. You ever heard somebody say that? Oh God, no.
Yes. Cause I feel like right there, those words together are an interesting combination. And it shows how much there's a lot of damage with those words. There's a lot of you can tell like that person is damaged. It damages you.
Yeah.
It damages the relationship.
Yeah. And that hurts so much though. Like you just feel it. I don't know why you like me so much. And I got so angry. I'm like, why am I so angry? Because I was like, because the thing is, I give people like a lot of grace. I just automatically give you a lot of grace because I know you're a person just like me. And so you're going to make mistakes just like me. But then when you say something like that, specifically at that moment, that was something I never wanted to hear anyway, because I was already too focused on trying to make everybody feel good about themselves, even when I wasn't feeling good about myself. And I just went off on them. And that's how I knew it was like an insecurity. And that was really like the catalyst, the thing out of the whole situation. That was the thing that made me like really look at myself and make me wonder why I was so upset about that. Because those words are already like not good to say, like you said. But I realized that I can control how I react and how I respond to certain situations. In that situation, that was a reaction, right? Because there's a difference between reactions and responses. When you react to something, you're doing something, I like to say it, not like without thinking, but you're doing it from an emotional level. You're going from your emotions. When you're responding to something, you're looking at it from a place that like you can recognize your emotions, but you're looking beyond that and looking at maybe like the entire situation, right? And so with that person, when they said that thing to me, I went off on them and sent them a whole chain of things about themselves that they need to fix and they need to work on. And so that's really me when I'm like at my worst, just like telling you about yourself and being blunt about it and then not caring for a little bit about how you felt about that. And it really is not, because I say self-righteous, but I don't want people to think, you can think whatever you want, I don't care. But not from a place that I'm like higher than you or whatever, but it's more from a place to where like I'm at this place where I'm trying to like work on myself or this, that, and the other. And then you're still here at this point, and then you said something about me that made me upset at you, type of thing. And that's me at my worst, really. Just, yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like I was rambling, but that's okay. So you forgive yourself. I don't care. But I'm really at the point now where I'm just like saying, when I say stuff, and I used to be like so afraid of what I'll say or things like that. Now I just don't care. I'm just like saying, I pay attention to what I'm saying, obviously, but I just like, I really just don't, I'm at the point where I don't care enough to what other people think, to where I always have to feel like I have to like change or switch myself into like different modes for other people. You know what I mean? But like, what role do you think that self-acceptance plays into self-love? We talked about that a bit, but like self-acceptance, what do you think is the difference between self-acceptance and self-love first? I should ask you that.
So that's a very interesting thing. I think that self-acceptance plays on the roles of you are accepting of the fact that no matter what and what your characteristics are and what you feel like may be positives, what may be flaws, what may to the core, you are okay with that solitude and being alone and being fulfilled with that and having fulfillment. I think self-love is more of the action that comes with that and more of the understanding of that you are the person you have to live with and that it's trying to work towards the positive and less of the negative.
Interesting. So how did you get to a point to where you reached like self-acceptance, like not the self-love stage, but like self-acceptance where they go hand in hand, but where you like finally accepted the parts of yourself, even the parts that you probably didn't like?
I think that it took a while. It took a journey, and one day it just clicked in my head. One day I just had almost like an epiphany. I was just like, you know what? You don't have this figured out. Nobody has this figured out. There's still things that you're working on. There's still things that you need to improve. There's things that you're great at. There's things you are just you, and you are unapologetically you, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's okay, and that's beautiful, and other people should be able to be unapologetically themselves and find beauty in that too. And the things that make us human and really and truly, and the thing that is beautiful about our humanity is our differences, is our flaws, everything that encompasses us.
Like, what's the hardest part of yourself to accept? The thing that really was really hard to come to terms with?
I think the thing that was hardest to come to terms with was that I was hypocritical and needed to love myself more and work on more of my self-love. And actually, instead of just saying it and thinking that I knew what I meant by saying that, I actually
the
needed
false
to do
confidence.
it. Yeah, the saying that I'm okay, the saying that I'm practicing and doing this. And then I took a step back and I realized that there was still things that I hadn't worked on, and there was still things that I needed to do and to practice. And there was still parts of me that were disrespecting myself. I was disrespecting myself, and some of the behaviors that I had and some of the things that I were doing, I was not showing myself any kind of respect or love. And I had to start practicing what I was preaching, or the things that I would say.
Let me see, because when it came to me, like accepting things about myself, it's really about what role do you think other people have to play in your self-acceptance? Like growing up, how did that affect you? You know what I mean?
I had waves of confidence and self-love, self-acceptance. And one of the things that I struggled with growing up and everything was, and I have a great relationship with my mother, but one of the things was I was always thicker. I was very active. I played sports. I was in JROTC stuff. I was always in dance and stuff, but I was always thicker. But my mom would do that thing where she would tug on my shirt. And that was one of the big things that, like, always, even when I felt my best and even when I was always at my best, that little tug on that shirt, that little, I need to cover up, I need to wear looser clothes, and one of the things I did to combat that once I started practicing self-love was I wear a lot of athleisure, high-waisted. It looks great, like with my shape. And then like I'll wear tank tops and stuff. I cover skin in a way but then I also show skin. And I put myself in stuff that I can't, that tug at that shirt. I can't. I have to be confident. I have to force myself in uncomfortable situations to try to combat those little things. And it's helped a lot.
Has there ever been a point like where you thought you were doing things in self-confidence, but it ended up being something that was a bit probably more toxic to yourself than you really thought at first?
Being in denial and continuing to put myself through situations when it came to relationships with people, romantic relationships.
Because I'm thinking about, for me, when it came to self-acceptance, it was really me learning how to express myself. Thinking like how I'm a Black male in general and in America is quite challenging in some ways, because I'm quite good at controlling my emotions, but I'm a very emotional person. I'm very emotional, and I'll cry and I don't care now. But when I was growing up, if I were to cry or if I were to take interest in things that people thought was like weird from a Black guy, they would either make fun of me or tell me that I shouldn't do that. I remember when I was 3, I bring this up sometimes, when I was 3 and I said my favorite color was pink. I still remember this memory. I don't know why it's so etched in my head. And then the men in my family just freaked out when they heard that my favorite color was pink. They're like, that's a girl color, that's supposed to like pink. Or in middle school, when just like things would happen, I'll just start crying about certain things, and everybody would just look at me weird or whatever. Or I felt like people were looking at me weird and they would make fun of me. They would bully me for things like that. And even just like taking interest in stuff and like TV shows and stuff. Cause I'm the type of person, I love just like what people will like consider like classically girly or whatever. It's just like TV shows. Like when I was little, I loved like going on the Barbie website or like watching, I don't know, like Winx Club or something like that. And for a long time I hid that. I still think like a part of me is like hiding that from specific people or things like that. But I'm learning to be like more open and like accepting those type of things that I like, because I realized that in order to like myself, I have to like really just accept the things that I feel other people might not like about me. Because I'll tell you now, I'll sit here and watch like shoujo anime all day if I like wanted to, or just, I love to wear pink. I love to just, I'm taking like way more and more interest in fashion the older I get, and just wearing stuff that I want to wear. And I'm just like learning to express myself more. And it's weird because like with me being a black guy or whatever, it's like this weird balancing.
The audio is cut out. I repeat, the audio is cut out. I tell you, this happens every day.
I hate that it cut you off because I really was enjoying.
MJ. Thanks. Dang, I don't know what happened. I knocked my microphone for a second and then everything just went all chaotic. I don't even know what I was talking about. Black person, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really, that's important, like to share your experience as a black male.
Yeah.
Don, my love, come back to me.
Oh, I just love this song.
Don, oof.
Huh, Eva, what are you doing here?
I came for you, my love. I wanted to make sure that you were okay. How are you feeling? I want to talk everything out.
Oh, Eva, love, I'm sorry for everything I said. I was just so angry. You know that society only allows men to feel two emotions. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but it's as if my microchips are short-circuiting. It's so overwhelming. I was so mean.
Don't worry about it, Don. It's all right. Let's go home.
Okay.
I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Oh, that girl. Well, AI girl. And all because of some man. Well, AI man. Anyways, leaving me all alone on the beach like that? I'm too attractive. What if someone tried to steal me? Well, good thing Lady Lorna led me to that shop that sells keys for humans to get in and out of the AI world. The CIA really has been holding out on us.
But let me see. This is post-editing Kaiser speaking. There was a mess up, but we're back. Don, the AI fixed it. But I don't know. I was saying something about being black and a male in America. Just, I guess, learn to express myself. I don't know.
I think your experience in talking about being a black male and self-love and self-care is super important, because I think not only like black men and men in general, but especially black men in the community, it's really hard for you guys to express yourself. It's really hard to come out and say the things that y'all need to say because of the culture and how, as a man, you can't show your weakness. You can't show, or certain things are feminine and that's bad. And I think that's important to share that and to talk about it, because I think it needs to be shared more. It needs to be talked about more.
What got me to that point, really, truly, honestly, is because growing up, I was trying to be like, I wasn't good at it, like the masculine type of guy, whatever. I would eat a certain way, walk a certain way, do this, that, and the other. And I would try it, but I would just fail so miserably at it. And so I just got to the point where I was just like, you know what? Let me just try like being Kaiser, right? Be Kaiser like God, how God created me to be. Like the things I like, and like I said, it was just like this push and pull. What's masculine enough? What's not masculine enough? What makes people comfortable? What makes people uncomfortable? And you really have to like, because I don't want to be that type of person to be like, because I think it's also dangerous too, how a lot of young people be like, because we think we know it all sometimes. It's just like, I'm an adult, I can do whatever I want. But that's also a bad thought process to be in, because when you're trying to do anything you want, per se, I put it in quotations, you're just acting stupid. So I had to find a way to be genuine to myself in a way that I was genuine to myself, and not just me trying to be like, trying to prove something to people. Because I feel like me just trying to prove something to people would just be like the opposite of accepting myself and loving myself, because I'm still
Right.
trying to do the same thing. It's just on the opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, so just like interest in things that I've been interested in, because I've just learned to accept it. Sometimes I remember just like watching TV or something in my room, and I'm watching like Sailor Moon or Wings Club or something, and then somebody walks in and I get embarrassed. I'm like, oh no. Now I'm just like, there's still that thing in me that's like, you know. But I'm like, it's not like I'm even watching anything bad, so I just watch it anyway. I just continue to let it go until I'm comfortable with the fact that other people are just like comfortable with my interest in things I like, because I wouldn't want to do that to somebody else. You know what I mean? Make them feel like what they're interested in, things that they like, are just like not man enough or not feminine enough, or because everybody goes through that in their own ways. And for me, it was just like that, because I don't know. It just is what it is. And video games too. I play a lot of female characters, but I'm comfortable with myself enough to know that I just like I'm me, I'm Kaiser, I'm handsome, I'm amazing. So the other things that I'm interested in are amazing too. And I don't have to feel like I'm carrying some strange burden of just like having to be like this ultra masculine dude or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people, because even though I did come from that, because we all have, my dad is he's like emotionally mature in a lot of areas, right? So like when it came to like crying and stuff, things like that, he would be like, go ahead and cry and stuff like that. And he would encourage that. And I see a lot of other black guys don't have that same experience. And you could tell. And it hurts me. Because I'm just like, I wish that somebody at some point in your life could have just told you like, it's okay to feel the way you feel. Because now you're seeing like I see people my age talking about things like starting to be like vulnerable and things like crying or not holding your emotions. I'm like, I already been through that. I already done that. So I'm not coming from like a judgy place, but like you're going through that? Because I'm like, I went through that at 12, but it's a different like experience for everybody. But for most black men, it's really just like holding your emotions, being told, don't cry, you're a boy. That was one of the things that irked me so much when I was little, being told that. And you know what I did? I just ended up crying more. Other kids would like suck it up. I just start bawling even more. And
It's such a huge impact on self-love and self-acceptance.
Because you start to think that in order for me to be loved, I have to fit into some sort of standard of other people. And but that's not what self-love is. I just like to say you have to remove the boxes. You have to remove the walls little by little. Because the only person that can do that is you. And it's hard, and you may not always know where to go or what to do. But what I find is that when you just start just taking a look on the inside, just like the one little thing that might be nagging you or something that you might not have dealt with, maybe just take a look at that and see where that takes you. What are some signs that show you that you need to work on your self-love?
I think that's a really good question. That's a great question. I think it's a physical feeling, and people ignore it. And it's uncomfortability, that feeling, that pit in your stomach, that just something is uncomfortable. It isn't right. It doesn't agree with you. Like everything in your body that makes you want to be like, no. And we fight. What's crazy is we fight through those feelings, and we accept them up. And instead of listening to ourselves, we just push right on through. And sometimes that creates trauma, and sometimes it doesn't. But still, we push through those and our body is telling us,
yes,
hey, this isn't right for you. Hey, this is wrong. Hey, I'm not okay. Hey, pay attention to me. And we ignore it and ignore it and ignore it until the point that like it's out of control.
Yeah, I think this is really true. I think we all do it. Just ignoring like your intuition or just like the things that are like telling you. Because I feel like your body is meant to be able to tell you when it's feeling threatened, and it's feeling threatened for a reason. So you have to figure out what that is. But instead of us trying to figure that out, we go the other way and be like, no, I'm going to take you with me, and you're going to do what I say because I'm the boss, and you don't tell me what to do. You know what I mean? We do it to ourselves. And
it creates stress on the brain and everything.
I don't know, because I'm looking at what I wrote. I wrote a whole thing. I wrote a whole paragraph. But I think because a lot of times it comes from like our feelings too, because our body is telling us one thing, but our feelings are telling us another thing. And so I feel like a point I had to get to a lot of people have to get to is that your feelings aren't facts.
Yes.
It's how you feel. Just because you feel something doesn't mean that's a fact. And what I put in my notes, I like did, because we live in a culture that, in America specifically, I should say, that like really encourages you to cut people off and cut people off when you need to cut people off. But I think a lot of times when people, because I was thinking about it, like past situations when people like cut other people off, it's usually because they did something that might have hurt you, but your first reaction, you go by how you feel instead of like how what the situation looks like. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And I feel like when you're in that situation, because that's the thought that came in my head when it was like signs that you need to work on self-love. When you feel like you just automatically have to cut somebody off because something they said to you, then maybe that's something you have to look at. Or because you were hurt by somebody and your first reaction is to throw what they said away, to ignore them, to ghost them or whatever. This is the first thing on my mind. I don't know why. I probably do know why. I do know why. But I feel like that's a way to ignore your feelings.
I feel like at the point that you also are searching for other people to validate yourself, I feel like at the point that you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, at the point that you just are starting to feel lack of your usual interests, those are all signs that you need to do some interpersonal work, that you need to look at yourself and be like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because those, while it happens, it's not something that should happen.
I think that's the thing that people don't realize. After experiencing it for a while, for a long time, you don't realize that what you're feeling isn't healthy for you to be in the long term. But then
there is a way you can feel great. There's people out in the world that feel great, and that's their norm.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, that's good. No, because you would think that like everybody thinks like this way. Everybody like goes down on themselves, or everybody's depressed in some aspect. But that's not true. You're supposed to feel great, and there are people in the world that are living like their best lives, and actually, literally living their best lives, not fake living them. You know what I mean? Not
right.
Because people pretend, but there are people that are actually happy and not pretending. They're experiencing joy. They're experiencing peace, even when they're in these difficult situations. There are points in their lives to where they have something to turn to, usually within themselves, that help give them peace and let them know that even in these situations and even these feelings, it's not always the long term. You know what I mean? I'm going to get out of it somehow. And I think a lot of that has to do with the thought process too. And it's different for everybody, because I don't want to be like, because it's different, because there are different like levels of like depression and things like that. But I find that a lot of people that are depressed, me specifically, I should say, I'm not depressed. But when I was in a state of depression, I realized that my thought process was like the primary culprit. That's the thing that caused everything else in my life to go like in ways that they didn't need to go in, because I didn't like myself, because I believe the things I said about myself. And that's why I say words are a lie. Because I just say like this: positive thinking is the truth, and negative thinking are lies. That's how I just look at it. That's just how I do it. Am I a good interviewer?
No, I enjoy this interview. I feel like this was a good interview.
Oh, gee.
And it's like appropriate for the topic.
Okay. So for you, like, what are some healthy ways for you to like cope with like negative self-talk and self-doubt?
I think just using affirmations, trying to find that me time, trying to catch it when I start to feel it.
I get excited
before it gets bad. And it always takes work. Everything takes work. Everything takes time. You're not going to get it overnight. But at a certain point, you become really in tune with your body and yourself and your feelings when you do a lot of interpersonal work. And so sometimes you can catch yourself early on, starting the process and starting to get into that cycle. And I think immediately breaking that and distracting yourself with something, or using positive affirmations. Like yesterday, I had a rough day at work, and there was a lot going on, and it was stressful, but it was only me and another person, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't slow down.
Yeah.
So I popped in a I popped in an AirPod and I just immediately put my mind on instead because I felt a panic attack coming on.
Yeah.
I felt myself having one. And to ground myself, because there was no other way to ground and to put myself back into reality with what I had going on, I popped the AirPod in and I just went to having a little concert. I was like, and they're singing, just I was like, I'm gonna pace myself and just do what I gotta do. But I'm gonna distract myself from those thoughts. 'Cause especially when you have a panic attack come on. And I don't know if you have anxiety.
Yeah.
And you probably have had that experience where it gets there and
Yeah.
you get in that cycle, you do that negative self-talk and you can't, and you get panicky and you get that I can't breathe and you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
I find myself now that I'm more in tune with my like mind and body that I can catch myself and try to stop those things before it happens.
Definitely. I think me too. I like listen to music too. The same way, I just catch it before anything like that can happen. Because I think having distractions is important, but at some point you also have to really look at the thought, because if you don't, the thought is just going to stay there. And I like to think of it this way: when I have a negative thought and I continue to just let that negative thought go, it's always going to come back, and it's always going to come back with more. So that one negative thought is going to turn to two negative thoughts, and those two negative thoughts, 3, 4, 28, 100,000. I don't know. But it's really because I think like distractions are important, but they only can help you for a short while, right? And being able to have a balance and being able to do both, knowing when the time, because at the same time you can't stop life. You know what I mean? You're not always going to be able to stop and be like, I'm good enough, I can do this, and just do that process. But I think when you do both, you're able to combine those a little bit in a way. Because like I've gotten good at doing my affirmations right and learning like what I can use to help me. Like if I'm in a situation where I can't really like do that right now, distract me. And so I'm at the point to where, like I was saying earlier, I've done so many affirmations and done so many things that I know like the type of music I like to listen to. Or I know the things that if I can't say it out loud in the moment, I can say it in my head in that one moment. And it can start like getting me more into a positive mood.
Yep.
This is one of my favorite. How can you set healthy boundaries and communicate your needs to others?
I loved that question too when I read it. It was one of my favorites. This is so important because people are so bad with boundaries. People are horrible with boundaries. And people are horrible with communication. We try and we try and we try and we get better. And some people are great communicators. But overall, like when we're trying to communicate to someone that we care about and that you have feelings, it was so bad.
I always say that talking is not the same thing as communicating. Those are two different things, because you can talk your head off, but you can just be speaking to nothing.
And I think one of the biggest things is learning how to use I statements.
Yes.
Hey, I am feeling this way.
And it's so hard too. When I first started using I statements, I was like trying my best, but then I would keep going back to you, and I was like, wait, it takes practice. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it does. It's like, I feel this way because and like, it's about you. You're just like, and it's not that you're ragging on the other person. It's not that you're like, it's just being like, hey, look, I'm just letting you know if I'm acting crazy, if I'm acting weird, if I'm acting distant, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is what I have going on. I'm not putting this on you. I just want to inform you that this is what I have. If you have any ideas or anything that can help me out, that's great. But just know this is not on you.
That is so important, because I feel like a lot of times when people get into modes where they're like those modes like depression or things, and their first reaction is to go away, and that's fine when you need space to yourself. But it's also you need to communicate that to other people, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't do that, like it could really mess up like relationships. It really can. And like somebody that you say you talk to somebody like on a daily basis or whatever, then all of a sudden you pull them back. You know what I mean? Obviously that person's going to worry about you and they want to know what's going on. And a lot of people, especially young people, they'll be like, oh, I just didn't feel like talking or this, that, and the other. It makes it so much easier when you can just communicate what you're feeling, saying, I feel this way. Even if you don't understand what you're feeling, you might be like, I'm just not feeling at my best right now. I'm feeling like really sad or something like that. And I don't want you to see me like that. Just things like that. Just like really, because
You can go so far as to even say, hey, I'm really confused about the feelings I'm having right now, but they're making me uncomfortable. I don't
Yes.
know what they are. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just communicating with you that I'm going through.
And if you need space, ask for space. Because I'm that type of
Yeah,
person. I'm the type of person that will give it to you if you ask for it. But if you're not going to ask for it and I'm like worried about you, what's going on, I'm going to start being like, what's going on? Are you okay? Is everything all right? You know what I mean?
It's okay to even just be like, hey, I don't feel like talking right now. I need some space. Talk to you later.
Yes. I think
There's nothing wrong with saying
I
that.
think that's important because a lot of people, because I said when people say I don't feel like talking, they'll stop it like that. I don't feel like talking. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Do you feel like talking tomorrow? Do you feel like talking next day? Like saying that you need space. And I'm not saying give me a definitive, I'm not ready to talk until next Tuesday. You know what I mean? Don't give me but be like, at the moment right now, I'm not ready for this. And I need to step back. And I feel like that really does help, like with communication. Because I wrote about I statements in my thing too, and like just putting the word I in practice, switching from you to I, just like instantly changes things. Because when you use the word you, I think that's when people automatically go into like threat mode and they feel like they have to defend themselves. They feel like they're being blamed about something because it's a natural instinct to, like, when somebody says you, to feel like you have to defend yourself, right? But when you're speaking about yourself and not the other person, that ends up having them be able to focus on the message and not when you just said you. Because when you say you, they're not going to be focused on the message anymore. They're going to be focused on you just blamed me for something. You just said that. And this doctor, I follow her on Twitter. She's a therapist. She wrote this. She said, the word I removes assumptions and allows someone to focus on the issue at hand and allows the person to feel safe enough to share their perspective. It completely changes relationships, but requires some practice. And so that's just really like the word I. It changes things. And I just wrote examples too, because I got excited. I was like, ooh, this is a chance to teach people about I statement. Because saying something, I wrote, this is a you statement, and I'm going to say an I statement because I have 3 different ones. You always make me feel, see, that would have been a good game actually at the end. Like I'll just say a whole bunch of you statements and you turn them into I statements. Man. Anyways, so you always make me feel bad when you say that. And I changed that to, or I use mostly her examples, but she changed that to, I felt really hurt by what happened last night. You know what I mean? Or you don't consider how I feel. Say, I was confused at why you felt upset. Can you help me understand? Something like that. Or, what, you're twisting things. Oh no, my notes. Where'd it go? Okay, you're twisting things, right? Oh my gosh.
I was confused by your statement. Could you please?
Yeah, I was confused. Yeah, stuff like that. I wrote one that I was like, yeah. And so I started in my journal like a few days ago because I've been practicing I statements for almost a year now, trying to use them in my daily life. But I started in my journal just because I read her talking about I statements. I'm like, you know what? In order to get better at I statements, I'm going to start like writing some you statements in my journal and then writing an I statement that changes that so I can learn how to do that.
Did you know that I first learned about I statements when I was a teenager?
Really?
Yeah, almost 20 years ago, I was in a program called City of Peace. It was an improv group, and at the end of the year, we put together a giant musical. But one of the things that we always talked about and things that we did was, and I find that a lot of work that I did when I was acting and things, like a lot of workshops were interpersonal, very focused.
Yeah.
But one of the exercises we did was talking about I statement and how it is very accusatory to say you and to put things on you, and people do become defensive. And I think it's such a big part of communication to try to keep an open conversation, because the moment you say you or someone feels accused, they stop listening. Yep. They shut down. There's nothing left there. You're not getting anywhere after that.
That's so true. It's like that. I'm telling you, like, I just thought of it like that same person, because I was trying to, that's when I first learned about I statements or whatever. I started off right. I was like, when they told me, I don't know why you like too much, I said, I feel angry about something. And then all of a sudden on my little text chain, it started with you. Because I was trying my best, but I was angry at that moment. And I wrote it out and everything. I was like, okay, let's fix this and let's fix that or whatever. But then once I started texting it, a whole bunch of other stuff came out that I was holding in, and it was just like, a whole bunch of yous just came out. And then I texted them back after that because I said, I already know I ruined this. I texted them back and I was just like, I'm not going to text you anymore, but you can text me if you want, knowing that they wouldn't, right? Hoping, because I just felt like I just messed it all up. And it was just like, yeah, I was like, I felt it sounded like I was blaming you when I really wasn't trying to after reading that. But
We default so easily. Do you know why we default so easily to use statements?
why?
Because when you use I statements, you're opening up your pain, your
Mhm.
feelings, the things you don't want to deal with, the things you don't want to unpack.
Yeah.
When you say you statement, you don't have to really focus on why you're feeling this way,
Mhm.
what makes you tick. You can put everything on the other person. It's because of them. It's because of them. It's because of them. It's not a let me open up and look at and see, is this really them or is this thing that I have put together myself
Yeah.
along the way, learned behavior,
Mm.
learned habit, trauma, other things? Because it's not always someone's intention to
Yeah.
make you feel hurt.
Yeah.
It's not always their intention. And we're so quick to say it was someone else's intention to do that.
It's so true. Because I think about it, I'm just going to keep bringing up this person. Because this was just the catalyst of me just going really on that self-love journey. When I was just like, because there were things that I had to deal with myself that I was trying to look at it, but it was also like really hard to look at it. And so like when they brought up the like insecurity or whatever, that's when I like got really defensive. And so I was trying to express my feelings to them. And there was a part of me, I guess, I'm going to be honest, a part of me that kind of wanted to hurt them. Because I will put in the text, I don't like you or whatever. I said, right now, I don't like you. Let me clarify that. I still liked them. Just at the moment, I didn't like them. And so what I realized after looking at all the things that I sent them and what I said about them, the things that I was accusing them of were just things that I was feeling about myself. And I feel like when we accuse people of doing things, when we say they said one thing when they really meant another thing, it's actually us saying that about ourselves.
I think as you do more self-love and self-acceptance, as when you start to become a more effective communicator and more driven away from those kind of behaviors.
And it's hard. It really is hard, but I think it's worth it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because like you said, a lot of that is just has to do with the negative. It's all a part of the negative self-talk, the negative side of that, the lack of self-love.
So what are some ways that you specifically forgive yourself and you practice your self-compassion? When you're in a moment where you feel you're just like beating up on yourself for things.
I think telling myself it's okay to have these feelings in this moment. And then going and sitting down and saying, okay, it's okay to have these feelings, but why are we having them? And then taking the time to giving myself that time that I deserve to be able to figure out what I need and what's going on, what I can do to help myself.
Yeah. So you're learning not to judge yourself. So you're just letting yourself feel what you have to feel without, because I feel like we often tend to want other people to feel good about themselves, but when it comes to us, that's when we're harsh. It's some of the things that like when you really look at your thoughts that you say to yourself, you wouldn't dare say to anybody else. You wouldn't even say it to like somebody that you hate, but you will say it to yourself. And then you have to look at yourself and be like, but why am I saying that to myself? Why am I doing this to myself? What is it about me that makes me feel like unworthy or as if I shouldn't be doing this? And I like to think of it like this. If God don't judge me and if God can forgive me for everything, why am I sitting here judging myself and not forgiving myself?
You know what I think's been funny about the word that we've used so much, worthy. The fact that we have to use the word worthy meaning we put value, and that's a part of language and negative self. If we don't, what is value? What do we define as value? Why are we putting value on ourselves? Because when we feel like we're lacking in value, it becomes an issue. That's when the negative self happens. But value is relative. That is a relative thing. That is not what is valuable to one person is not valuable to another.
Keep going. Sorry.
And so I just think it's so funny that we use words like worth and value and we put that on ourselves. And that's a heavy
Mhm.
burden. Like we're putting ourselves, making us have to reach and jump to here to feel like we are something rather than just being happy and accepting where we are.
Yes. Gee, that's so good. That's so good. Not you throwing just like you just throwing out the wisdom, aren't you? No, that's
Yeah.
so good. You know?
That's why I said languages, we don't take into consideration how much language really impacts
Mhm.
things and the things that we say and how we word things. But it really is so important. It really is important. And all of that is inherently learned. This is a cycle. This is things that we've learned, we've inherited throughout time and generation. And so now we're breaking generational
Yes.
cycles. We're learning to try to talk more about our experiences and how we can get better and how we can do
Mhm.
better. And like I said, I think this is why this was so important to talk about and to talk about in general. It's not talked about
Yeah.
in an open manner that's so free flowing. And it's still, even when you talk about it, it's still
Yeah. Yeah.
you go to your therapist, you go to your psychologist. If you go to one, I don't go see either, but if you
Mhm.
do, and it's a we talk about this here. We don't talk about that out there. We don't engage in dialogue with our peers who could be feeling with the same things and dealing with the same things. It's you be quiet, you hush. This is confidential. This is between us. And we should have someone that we can speak to
Yes.
confidentially. But it's also okay to say you can have an open
Mhm.
forum.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about self-love, when you learn to love and appreciate yourself where you are, you're able to be more open about like your experiences, right? Because that judgment that you feel over yourself you realize is not so powerful. So you're able to walk into spaces and be your true self. And in turn, that actually really does help people. Like sitting here talking on this podcast, whomever's going to listen to it, this is really going to help someone truly, because some people think that there's no way out, or that they can only keep this to themselves, or that they have to hide parts of themselves. But the only way to be authentically you is to truly, like, really accept those parts and allow those parts to show. You don't have to point them out to people. Because I think a lot of times people think the things that we don't like about ourselves specifically, like those things are just like showing, look over here, I'm insecure, look over here, I'm like, I don't know, something, I can't think. We feel like they're like arrows like pointing at us, but it's not. It's really not.
No. And what's funny is if you open up the dialogue and talk to your
Mhm.
friends and really talk to them, they're going through the
Yes.
same thing.
That's so true. But we're
And I'm sorry, I was to say, I'm so blessed. I do have a
Yes.
friend that I open and then I can talk to. And he talks to me. We talk to each other about these things. And it's so refreshing. And in and of itself, it's its own form of
Mhm.
self-care and self-love to be
Mhm.
able to be
Yeah,
open.
because when you're more authentic with yourself, you allow other people to be authentic with themselves too, I think. Because the point when people start to, I'll say judge you and how you live your life and things like that, is when they have something about themselves that they don't want other people to see. But when you're living in that
Right.
true authentic life, you're able to view other people not as, I think as humans, we like to view ourselves as our actions or our feelings or whatever other things that we put upon ourselves. We look at things as labels, right? Even with our emotions, we'll be like, I'm angry, I'm sad, not like I'm feeling this way. We take on those emotions, we take on those feelings, we take on those attributes of things that aren't even personality traits, but we make them personality traits. We make them a part of ourselves when, they're not.
You're Kaiser and you're
Mhm.
always Kaiser, but sometimes Kaiser is mad,
Yes.
sometimes Kaiser is sad, sometimes Kaiser is other things, but Kaiser is
Kaiser's always
Kaiser.
Kaiser. That's so true. And I think once people realize that you aren't your emotions, you aren't your feelings, the things that you feel, those are things that are okay to feel. But once you realize those are not you, those are things that are used to help you, then you really start to be more open and be more true to yourself. And that really leads to how do you celebrate and appreciate like your unique qualities? How do you show up? You know what I mean? How do you?
I think that varies. I think finding and focusing on joy in things and celebrating even the small things. If I'm playing a video game and like I'm playing online and I'm playing Call of Duty now, like, do awesome. I'm gonna shout.
Right.
I'm gonna be patting myself on the back. I'm gonna say I'm awesome. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
baddest. Like really focus on, or if I cook an awesome
Yes.
meal, like just take in and
Mm-hmm.
soak in those small
Mm-hmm.
joys and those small wins and celebrate them, and like proudly celebrate them, out loud
Yes.
celebrate them. Be like, I'm awesome. I'm amazing. I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Like go
Mm-hmm.
be.
I think a lot of times we're taught not to like celebrate like those small things. Be humble. And I don't want to like, because be humble, yes. But I think how we use that word, especially like being humble and stuff, we use that as a way to lessen our attributes sometimes. You know what I mean? Saying like, don't be too proud and things like that. But we don't teach how to celebrate those things. Because for me, you talking about cooking a meal yesterday, because I cooked some beans. Yeah, it was a simple meal. It was like pinto beans or whatever. But they taste good. And I was excited. And so I got happy and I started celebrating myself. I was like, shoot, I can cook. And it's just doing like those small things. Like you said, playing video games. When I get really excited about playing a video, when I'm playing, see, how I was about to say it, I was about to say I get all excited and stuff. I don't. Because I'm just like, I'm really like quiet. But I'm getting to the point where I'm just like celebrating like those small victories and stuff. Because I have a whole bunch of video games that I don't finish. So you might know the backlog, just a game, like 100-hour games that you just don't finish.
Yes.
Persona 5 Royal, I've had you for almost 3 years and still didn't finish you. I'm only in 33 hours, I checked the other day. But it's just like celebrating small things like that. When I finish like a game, I'm going to sit there and celebrate. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to express that to other people so that they can feel that they can express what makes them happy too. Because I used to think that in order for other people to feel as if they can express themselves in certain ways, I always have to like listen, and of course listen, obviously. But sometimes you have to be like the person that brings in like that. You're the one to open the door, basically. Sometimes you have to be the door opener. Yeah. Sometimes you have to be the one that celebrates like the parts about yourself, so other people can learn how to celebrate the parts about themselves. Because we're so used to being like, oh, you're so awesome and you're so amazing. But what about me? I'm awesome and I'm amazing. You know what I mean? It's like those things. Because when you celebrate yourself, it makes it more easy. It makes it easier for you to authentically celebrate other people.
And I think what's funny is we're taught to only celebrate the big and the big achievement. But it's okay to celebrate and find joy in those small things that get us through the day. Because you might, be in this part of your life where you haven't had a big achievement over time. So it's okay to celebrate those small achievements and those small.
It makes you so much more grateful too. It makes you like look forward. What can I do next? If I can do this, then I can do. And then all of a sudden, you don't know. But there's a lot of questions. Okay, so you know what? I was like, I'm not gonna even ask all these questions, but we only have 2 questions left, so I'm just gonna ask those two too. Because why not?
Why not?
What does mindfulness and gratitude? Did I ask that? No, I didn't. What does mindfulness?
No.
Yeah. What does mindfulness and gratitude play in self-love? What role do those play in self-love?
Oh, big roles. Big roles. Mindfulness. A part of mindfulness is that connection between body and brain, and being cognizant of what we're doing and the things we're saying in our surroundings, and how that impacts ourselves, and how do we navigate this, and when gratitude is just being appreciative of the small things, appreciative of the big things, appreciative that you exist or here on this earth, that you were a person, that you have life, that there is rainbows, sunshine out there. There is life itself is beautiful. Like the journey of its ups and downs. And I feel like mindfulness and gratitude, both those things are weigh heavily in a journey for self-love and self-acceptance and being true to oneself, because without those things existing, it's very hard to be. it's very hard to navigate self-acceptance.
So what advice would you give to that person that really, they want to do mindfulness, they really want to like have gratitude, but they're like, right now, I just don't know if I can do it because I'm just going through too much in life. There's just all of these bad things are happening and I just don't know how to feel gratitude. What do you think would be good advice for those people to help them get started?
The smallest thing, which is just the fact that and knowing that you've endured this far. You have endured this far. You are still here. You are still kicking. And even though it may seem like it's hopeless, there's nothing. There's a bit of hope. There's always hope in the fact that you're still pushing through, that you're still trying, and to focus on even the smallest thing that you are trying and accepting that trying is okay. That once you can accept that trying is okay, that small little thing that it's okay to just be trying, then you can blossom from there. It grows from there because then you can find the next small thing, which is that I am trying. So now let's try one new thing. Or let me say that I'm grateful that I tried today. That one positive small thing. And even though you don't think that saying that one positive small thing is going to make a difference eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a process. You have to keep it up because once you do it, you have to continue doing it. I think people need to know once you do start loving yourself, once you do start experiencing self-love, the negative thoughts don't go away. Negative thoughts still pop up, right? Bad things still happen in life because it's life. But you can control how you experience life, how you view your thoughts, how you view your surroundings. Just
Right. You kind of like a flower. You pull out the negative and then you water and work and grow the good.
How can you use positive affirmations and visualization to strengthen your sense of self?
Believe it or not, so one of the things that is true and studies have shown, if you write down things, if you say things, they will ingrain in your head. It's a way people study. It's proven to help people study. So what you do is, even though you see it written somewhere else, when you write it down, like if you have a journal or something and you write it down, write down your affirmation, write down your quote, write down whatever, it imprints in your brain. You think of you're using your muscles, you're using your body as a part to you remember it. It soaks in. When you say things verbally, you hear yourself talk. You hear it. It sinks in. It soaks in.
That's true. It's important. I think that's an important thing to teach people, that you can read it all you want, but until you write it down or you express it out loud to yourself, then you don't really believe, not say that you don't believe it, but your belief, I don't think, is as strong. And so when you say, I'm just reading something, you can do anything, but I'm not reading it out loud. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. It's just right there in front of me. If I don't say that I can do anything, then I won't believe I can do anything, because the first thing that will happen, if I see something that was like, I can do anything, then something I always think of like the word, but I can do anything, but like those things in your head continue to give you this false sense of negativity, I think, as a way to put it. So,
right. Or that, yeah, right. I can't do anything.
Yeah. And this one thing that just popped up in my head. We're so willing to say the negative things out loud, but when it comes to the positive things, we don't say those out loud. We don't write them down, but we will quickly just start saying the negative stuff as if it's just like second nature. It'll just flow out of our mouths. And it's like, if you can say all that negative stuff, then you can teach yourself to say the positive stuff too. I don't know, but yeah, I just think that's really true. Man, we went through a lot of questions too.
We did.
Yeah. Just know, I don't know, your negative thoughts don't have any power until you give them power. You have to give them your power. That's what I would say. What's one thing that you like say to yourself that helps you remember like the positive things about yourself, I should say? Do you have one quote that you say to yourself or that you remember, that you speak to yourself when you can't think of anything else to say?
I know this sounds it's so simple, but It's you got this, girl. It's okay. You're okay. You're doing it.
It's good.
It's not even a whole spear. It's just as simple as you got this.
I think that's wonderful. I really do. Just like telling yourself you got this. Because we can so easily fall into that thought process of that negativity, or just looking at our surroundings and just taking them as if they are what they like have to be. The thing that I usually say is because growing up, I didn't really believe in myself. I was always shy and stuff. I always tell myself that I belong and add value into any space that I walk in. Whenever I feel like nervous or anxious or anything, or I can't think of anything else, that's the one quote I remember and I say out loud to myself, that I add value and that I have worth. And any space that I walk in, no matter where I go, I add value to it. No matter who's in the room, I add value. No matter what relationship it is, no matter what the situation looks like, I add value somehow in some way. I'm my own unique individual, and I add something that no one else can add to this situation.
I think that's a really good affirmation. That's a really powerful affirmation.
It's really my favorite one to use, because I just like, whenever I'm feeling down, when I remind myself that I have value, your mindset shifts. It changes.
I think that's interesting. And I think for me, the reason I got this is because I feel really anxious when when I don't feel like I have control of something, when I'm losing power. And I feel like saying, you got this, I have this, I still have control. I have that power that I feel like I'm losing. That's making me feel this way.
Wow. That's amazing. We've been talking for a while now. I'm not sure how long we've recorded, because this is like 2 separate recordings now that I'm about to put together.
I think
2 hours and something.
2 hours.
Okay. Because all my podcast episodes are ending up being like really long. So I'm accepting, because I love listening to long podcasts anyway. So I'm accepting the fact that all my episodes are just going to be like at minimum 2 hours, just about, besides one episode so far.
I think what would be interesting, because talking about self-love and acceptance and being okay with being ourselves, I think it would be interesting if your ending was actually bloopers. So it shows a sense of vulnerability and like.
See, because the thing is, I was talking to my sister about that, is that I have so many bloopers in so many of these episodes that I was just going to make one full episode eventually when I get enough, and just put a whole bunch of bloopers in that one episode. Yeah, because it'll be ridiculous. Like, nobody will know what's going on once listening to it, but it will just be like so funny, because it'll just be like a whole bunch of laughing, a whole bunch of like me mispronouncing words or something, and it'll be great. Yeah. How's your experience doing this podcast? Was it fun?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the dialogue.
Would you come back?
I would.
Good.
I know.
Because all my guests come back at least one time. That's the whole thing. But I need to figure out, because how I do it is I have the guests come on, they pick what they want to talk about, and then once they come back again, pick something that kind of may or may not, that's all I always say, may or may not correlate with what we talked about previously. That's the quote that I use, because a lot of times they're probably not going to correlate with it. But I don't know, I'll have to think of like what we could talk about the second time, because I want it to be something like, for this, because we talked about self-love, I wanted to talk about something different, like an interest or something. But yeah, I'm going to have to figure out something to talk about. We probably going to talk about like video games or something like that.
I was going to say, I think gaming would be fun. I think it would be interesting to talk about, like, from a female gaming perspective, alternative gamers that aren't the typical stereotypical male gamers and their experiences and just different things like that. True.
That would be fun. I think that would be great. But yeah, this was nice talking to you. I have to cut it short because not cut it short because it's going on for a long time. I have to cut it because I have something that just came up. But it was good talking to you. Where can people find you on like socials or anything?
I think all my Instagram, my Twitch, which I haven't been on Twitch recently, but I'd like to get back on there again. And my Discord is all Eat It With a Fox.
All right. It was so nice talking to you. It was great to see you again after it's been like 2 or 3 months. It's been great, and I'm excited to talk to you again. We'll do a date for the podcast one day, and we'll figure it out. But thank you for joining me on today's episode, and I guess you could just tell everybody bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the I'm a Fan Of podcast.
Don't forget to support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and supporting our socials at IAFO Fans on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Plus, Our email, iafofans@gmail.com. You can use all these to send questions, suggestions, and even apply to be a guest.
Okay, Mr. Profession.
I know.
And if you didn't catch all of that, it'll be in the show notes.
Next episode, I'll be discussing shoujo anime and manga with my guest, Alyssa Vessel.
Until then, we'll say,
Love yourself and your life will be just that much better. See ya!
or hear ya.
Or type ya.
Oh, so now you're the one typing?
Okay, look, wait, it sounds better coming from me,
It
so you
does
don't need to
not
do all
sound
that.
better
Wait, you
coming
don't need
from
to talk
you.
about it.
Yes, I
Yep.
do.
No,
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Soon. I'm back. No thanks to you, Ava.
Brother, look who's back.
Hi.
Dawn! Oh, Dawn, I've missed. I mean, I wonder where you ran off to in such a hurry without so much as a goodbye or see you later. Men.
Do you still hate men?
Oh, they aren't so bad. Anyway, change the subject. I met this beautiful AI woman named Lady Lorna, and she gave me a key to get in and out of the AI world. No thanks to you, Ava.
Lady Lorna.
A key. Those shouldn't be readily available. She must be a sophisticated high-tech artificial intelligence, even more so than me.
She is, and she's wonderful.
Don, do you know her?
Well,
Speaking of, why did you run off anyway?
Don.
no reason in particular. I was just overwhelmed and got kinda mean.
We haven't heard from you in weeks.
Anyway, that's all behind us now. I need some rest. We'll talk later, I promise.
Same. Good night, everyone.
Overwhelmed, huh? Where have I heard that one before?
Something wrong, guys?
Not in particular, just Ava and I had a little conversation about self-love earlier, and this is just reminding me of that. Men really aren't allowed to experience their emotions.
AI and self-love? First time I ever heard of that.
They're more aware than you might think, which is especially intriguing once you meet an artificial intelligence such as Lady Lorna. You know what this means?
That we as a human race are on a long, narrow road of dying out, being ruled and replaced by evil artificial intelligent life forms that want to steal our dignity, souls, and pets.
Yes! All human life is in danger. But we can worry about that later. What I'm talking about is something that's a bit more emotionally troubling.
Hey, stop it!